Welcome to this episode of What's Up Wednesday, the weekly series where we talk about what's going on in the firearms community and industry news, all sorts of stuff, whatever. Because sometimes things are not just as they seem, and it's almost like we're living in an alternate, upside-down, parallel universe. I know, that's right. There are some crazy stuff going on. First things first, Visa responds to the credit card code story that we reported on last week, which this was making a lot of buzz, but my video didn't really do very well. So if you're a regular watcher, if you saw the video, great. But if not, we'll put a link in the description below to last week's episode where we talked about this. But basically, the International Standards Organization was making a new merchant code specifically for gun shops, and that way credit card companies could track suspicious gun and ammunition purchases and potentially report them to, stop bad things from happening. All these lawmakers wanted this. But finally, we have some good news in that Visa responded. Basically, all of the credit card companies were kind of told, but none of them responded as of last week. Well, this week, Visa responds and basically says, hey, dummies, merchant codes won't show customer gun purchases, which is what we've been saying all along. Basically, Visa warned that a new system that gun control advocates are saying will limit mass shootings might not have the desired effect. Really? You don't say. This is exactly what we've been talking about. The problem, Visa says, when it's processing transactions for any merchant, it doesn't actually have access to the data showing what products consumers are actually buying. We have no visibility into what items a consumer is purchasing. This is true irrespective of which merchant credit card code or what merchant code applies to a merchant, Visa said in a statement, advocating that that's not what merchant codes are designed for, nor should they be. I got to give credit to Visa for actually kind of saying, what it is. I mean, it's not like they're really going out there and being so bold, because this is just the truth, but this is what I really liked about Visa. We do not believe private companies should serve as moral arbiters. Awesome. I totally agree. Totally agree. Asking private companies to decide what legal products or services can or cannot be bought and from what store sets a dangerous precedent. Further, it would be an invasion of the consumer's privacy for banks and payment networks to know each of our most personal purchasing habits. Visa is firmly against this. Well done, Visa. Well done. Like I talked about in last week's episode, be careful, because that is going to set a very unique and dangerous precedent if allowed to move forward like that, where if you get some of these private institutions to go after purchases that whatever political party may or may not agree with at the time or in the future. So awesome to hear Visa kind of stepping up and supporting this. Really, really like that. Now, believe it or not, there is a new assault weapons ban. Basically, it's a licensing legislation that was proposed as of yesterday. And it's crazy because it was proposed by a Republican. Now, let me rephrase that. A Republican, because he's a New York Republican. And let's be honest, no matter where you sit politically, it is two wings of the same bird, okay? So they all suck sometimes, and they're all after it for themselves. But this is from Congressman Chris Jacobs out of New York. And he basically says that he's promoting this legislation to license assault weapons. So in order for you to possess an assault weapon moving forward, you would have to go through a licensing process. Now, this bill is so new that there's not even text available on our government web pages. This is literally what I pulled today. You're watching this on September 21st, but as of the 20th, when I'm recording this, there's no text for this bill. So we can't even see what's being proposed other than it's being proposed. But basically, he's saying that we saw all these issues firsthand in these active shooter situations, and Federal Assault Weapons Licensing Act would create a new licensing system for any American seeking to purchase a new assault weapon. Anyone who already owns an assault weapon would be grandfathered in, but the licensing process would be required to take a mandatory safety course, pass a background check, submit fingerprints, proof of identity, and it would need to be renewed every 5 years if an individual wants to purchase or obtain additional assault weapons. So that's just what we're seeing in his press release. We obviously don't have the bill text, but this is his last term, which is also interesting. He's not seeking re-election. Now, I don't know if he has some other gig lined up. Maybe he's truly getting out of public service. He wants to go into the private sector. I don't know. We can speculate all the reasons why he's not choosing to run. Maybe he feels that he doesn't have a chance because, let's be honest, New York is traditionally more of a Democratic, state. But either way, he's not running, but he decided to propose this. So I don't know. We'll see if this is going to have enough traction in the House to actually move forward. Obviously, people are concerned about this because it's not going to do much of anything. But it's basically going to put assault weapons, and I'm using air quotes, on similar to an NFA process where you're going to have to submit fingerprints, ID, get a background check, and then who knows what the safety training is going to entail of. Are states going to be allowed to interpret that? Is there a federal standard? Is it going to be a cost? Is there going to be a certain amount of time? I mean, there's all these variables that it's really tough to say what's in here without seeing the actual text. But the sad part is, even if we see the text, in worst case, let's just say this somehow passes, then it's still up to interpretation usually, because then these various agencies have to figure out how they're going to interpret the law, enforce the law, all that other stuff. So it is just really interesting to see this pushed through. And it is basically his last few months, I believe his term is up this year. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But seriously, people, you can't make this stuff up. You just can't make this stuff up. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this something that you're going to be contacting your representatives about? Or are you going to see how it progresses? And I haven't seen a ton of other channels or the legal outlets covering this yet because I'm guessing it's really, really fresh. But we'll probably hear more about this in the future. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Speaking of assault rifles, Sig Sauer has won a contract for the reduced signature assault rifle. And this is for the Sig Rattler MCX family of firearms by basically SOCOM. And it's not just any contract, it's a $5 million contract for SOCOM for this PDW. I gotta say, Sig and I have had a rocky past. However, some of their products that have been coming out lately have been impressive. And the MCX, I just have a regular Gen 1 MCX. It's a nice rifle. I didn't get a Rattler, but there's another new MCX coming, which we'll talk about here after our break. But the Rattler was pretty cool. I got to shoot one at a trade show, and they do look pretty cool. They shot nice, and my MCX shoots really nice. It's a nice, reliable rifle. It shoots really well suppressed. So I got to give props to Sig. The MCXs it's a great firearm. It really, really is. And the 320, I have some content coming up on the 320, and if you watch our shorts, I just got one of the Romeo 2 optics in to check out. So some of the Sig stuff might be growing on me, but good for Sig for this contract. I mean, this is pretty huge. Before we talk about more Sig news, do got to give a shout out for TriggrCon. TriggrCon is coming up outside of Wichita, Kansas. It is going to be October 7th and 8th, 2022. And if you're going to TriggrCon, make sure you use the coupon code in the link below to save yourself a little bit of money on some tickets. But it's at Flint Oak Hunting Reserve, which is an amazing complex, again, outside of Wichita, Kansas, October 7th and 8th of this year. And if you guys go, make sure you track me down because I'll have a pocket full of swag. Get a hold of me. If I'm right in the middle of recording, please be courteous, but make sure you find me. Say, hey, Dave, I want a patch, and I got some in my pocket for you because I want to see you at TriggrCon. It is so much more than a gun show. There's over 70 exhibitors. There's going to be live fire areas, long guns, handguns, suppressed shotguns, plus all sorts of other vendor areas where you can get hands-on gear and talk to the people behind the products. Really cool event. Super happy it's back. Again, that is TriggrCon 2022, October 7th and 8th, Flint Oak Hunting Resort, just outside of Wichita, Kansas. I really do hope to see you there. Again, use the link in the description and the code to save yourself a little bit of money. So hope to see you at TriggrCon. Speaking of Sig Sauer, just a couple days ago, they announced the Spear LT of MCX family of firearms. And they have 5 different rifles plus 3 different pistol versions. Now what's cool is they're coming out with factory SBR options as well as factory rifles, meaning 16-inch versus shorter barrels. Plus they'll have the SBR versions available in a pistol version as well. Now, if you're looking at this picture, you're probably seeing the magazines look a couple of them look a little wonky. That's because we have new caliber options. Comes in 223/556. I believe it's a 556 chamber, 300 blackout, and 7.62 by 39. And again, this is a SOCOM contract. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen SOCOM solicit guns like this in 7.62 by 39. The Maxim Defense PDX, I believe, was one of the first, which is a really, really cool gun. By the way, if you haven't checked out the PDX, check out my first look video up there. I'll put a link in the description as well. You can watch it at the end. But that's a super, super cool gun. I have more PDX content coming out too. But this is the 7.62 by 39 version. Comes with that kind of curved magazine. This is a 16-inch, and this is a rifle version. Looks pretty cool. Now, here's a couple of the SBRs. 11.5-inch barrel in the 223. I believe a 9-inch barrel in the 300 blackout. Also available in 7.62 by 39. And then, like I said, there's pistol versions of that as well. But here's some of the things that are new for the Spear LT and they've reduced the weight and the radius of the handguard. So that's my one criticism with the Gen 1 MCX, is it was kind of chunky and had a key mod big handguard, so I upgraded to the Midwest Industries handguard like a lot of people did. But this new handguard looks really good as far as diameter. I haven't had hands on one yet, but if you notice those two screws at the very end of the handguard over towards the mag well, those screws actually secure the handguard to the upper receiver, so it maintains more solidity when you're mounting lasers, sights, all sorts of other stuff on the handguard. Because that was one complaint with the original, is that because it just uses the takedown pin basically to take the handguard on and off, lasers and stuff didn't really hold zero that well. So this hopes to solidify that. It'll be kind of cool to see if it works. Adjustable gas block for shooting suppressed. Again, lighter weight, M-lock. It looks pretty nice, I'm not gonna lie. Other cool features, it comes with a skeleton trigger. However, now they're saying you can put any AR trigger because they changed how it worked. Now, if you guys know anything about the MCXs, MPXs, they were hard on triggers. You could not put any regular old AR-15 trigger in there, even though originally they said you could, but it just was destroying triggers. You had to get MCX or MPX specific versions of triggers. Now, they redid their carrier. I'm not exactly sure all the terms. I don't have one on hand yet. But it'll take standard AR-15 triggers, which is awesome. The other cool little thing, you see that little lever right above the mag release? That is an ambi bolt catch bolt release. Yes, ambi bolt catch and release. So you can lock the bolt back to the rear for a right-handed shooter and release it all with your index finger, which I gotta admit looks pretty cool. I'm looking forward to checking that out. So that's a cool feature there. Another little view of the ambi controls. All in all, I mean, I do like the Sig MCX. This looks like it's going to be a pretty cool firearm. I'm looking forward to get my hands on mine. I ordered the 11-inch 5.56 SBR, so hopefully it'll be here, I don't know, in the next few weeks or so. I'm not sure. Some of the bigger channels have already put content out about it. They were invited to the media event, or they actually got a demo. You can check out Grand Thumb's video. I'll put a link to his video in the description below. But he did a great job. He always does. I mean, guy's a magnificent content creator. If you aren't watching him, you totally should be. But yeah, he's the other G&T, as we refer to, as an inside joke. All right, moving on to other news. IRay introduced the Reco HD 1280 75mm thermal sight. And if you guys are into thermal, this is a huge deal. Now, this is not cheap with an MSRP of $18,000. Yes, I'm not getting one anytime soon. I gotta say though, 1280 resolution is pretty awesome. Right now, the highest basically consumer grade thermal resolution you can get is 640. So you're thinking, well, it's double. No, it's not. It actually are getting 4 times the resolution, 4 times the pixels. That's pretty awesome in a air-cooled device. Now, there are higher resolution thermals out there in use by government, military, but generally they're liquid-cooled and they're really, really big. But this 1280, like seriously, I'll put a link in the description. You need to go check out some of the YouTube videos and stuff that they've put out. It's like HD thermal and it looks really, really good. The contrast looks good. The dynamic range for thermal looks pretty good. The contrast ratio, it looks really good. And this is somebody who used to use thermal and night vision on a pretty much daily basis. I flew drones with night vision and thermal. I drove police cars and stuff with thermal. I have night vision. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm like the world's leading expert on this stuff, but I'm pretty savvy because I used it every day. And I got to say, like 1280 resolution is pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing what the technology, is going to hold in the next few years, but this is really, really cool. I have some thermal stuff coming up in the future as well. Guys, that's going to do it for this week of What's Up Wednesday. Again, I try to do these about every week, kind of go over what's new, industry stuff, what's kind of going on, cool stuff you might like, might want to hear about, maybe trying to put some truth to things that other channels are putting a spin on either side of the spectrum, whatever, because I just want to put it out there like it is. If you guys like the content, please like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the show. Let me know if you have any questions about this, anything else gun related. I try to interact. Otherwise, if you have a question, you can send it to the email address shown on the screen, which is theqa@gunsandtactics.com. And at the end of the month, I answer your questions. We have a live QA episode, and that is the last Monday of every month, 2 p.m. Central, live right here on YouTube. Plus, we give away some prizes. Thank you guys very much for watching, and have a great day.